start off the definition of what a leader is. A leader is a person who can inspire another person to take a journey that they're just not going to take by themselves. Because if you're a current leader or thinking about doing a leader, leading people, that will drain everything about you. But for you to be a leader, you must focus on that word. How do I inspire another person to do something they're just not going to do? So right out of the gate, Coach, let's talk about your best leader and why.
Man, when I think about my best leader, I really think twofold, man. I have been blessed to have amazing leaders, man. I mean, my story is I have had far more great leaders than I have had bad leaders. And I don't mean good leaders and bad leaders. I have been blessed to have some really great leaders in my life. And probably one was my pastor and high school football coach, Denny Duron, who became my father-in-law. And I would say in those formative years of being in middle school, high school, the thing that he did for me really was to model excellence, what it looks like to be an excellent man, right? What it looks like to live with excellence on a daily basis. And then excellence, and I would say the other word would be expansion, right? To really expand your mind to what is possible. And those two things really left a huge imprint on me as he modeled excellence for us, excellence in his faith journey, excellence in how he treated other people, excellence in all of these different areas. But then this whole expansion of the mind, man, dreaming bigger, thinking bigger, right? That was so very profound. And then leaving high school, I had a chance to play for Mac Brown at the University of North Carolina. And the thing that I really learned from him was process and positivity. Man, there was just like a process, and it was a ultimate just trust the process, right? And yeah, you want the results, but the thing about it is he was never about the results. He was like, are we doing what we need to be doing to the best that we can do it? And if we're doing that, then the outcome is really going to take care of itself. And really the process and so much positivity. Man, I mean, he was the most positive coach that I had just ever been around. I mean, was positive, 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 positive. Every meeting started with positivity, ended with positivity. Every practice started with positivity, ended with positivity. And it was filled with positivity all in the middle. And not to say that he wouldn't, get on you and coach you hard and had a high demand for his players. But man, it was under the umbrella of positivity. And positivity was really just a part of that process for him. And so he really believed in the process and positivity. And those two leaders, man, really shaped so much of who I am today in both of those capacities.
Yeah, John Maxwell says the inspiration formula is what do you know, see, and feel about a person? Because so tell me something. What did you see them do to get you to trust? Because to inspire someone, you have to be able to they trust. So you trusted them. You gave them your trust, and trust is the electricity to the inspiration. So
Yeah.
what did you see, know, or feel, or how did they make you feel that you would give them that trust? Because you would probably run through a wall for them.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think number one, it starts with reputation, right? It starts with what are other people saying about them before you ever have any interaction with them. And I think that that's why we have to be so careful with our reputation because it's really all we have, right? I mean, that's all you got.
That's all you
And so whenever people are telling a story about this person before you even have a chance to play for them or interact with them, and these are the things that people are saying about them, it's like before you even get there, right? There's already such a high level of trust. And then I think you watch and observe, right? And you see how they treat people, you see how they respond to adversity, you see how they deal with you, and all those things. And then it's like layer upon layer. So you come in, and there's already this reputation, but then when they interact with you, and then you see them interacting with others, it's just like layer upon layer upon layer, and they are constantly investing in that trust account, right? And when they make those consistent deposits in that trust account, man, then you're like, hey, whatever you say, man, I'm in. Like I'm ready. You have proven that you care about me. You've proven that you're going to do what's best for us, for this team, for this organization. Like you've proven these things. And so now, man, I want to play with you. I play for you. I want to give you my best. I want to go all out, right? Whatever that is. I'll work harder in the off season. I'll do whatever because of the type of person that they were. And man, both of those guys, it was really the core of who they were. It really was inspirational, as you said, and that inspiration coming from that deep trust.
Yeah, because if it's not on paper, it's vapor. Someone will stop here and say some nuggets that you just dropped a bunch of nuggets there. This could be the title of this session here: expand your mind to see what is possible. Because since I've done leadership coaching, because I've challenged myself, because I'm not a marketing person and promoter of myself, so it's been a real challenge for me to do that. Because I have more of an altruistic personality, which means I'll just do stuff for free because I just love and care for people. Well, if I'm trying to grow a business, that doesn't work out very well.
No, it doesn't.
Because I've got to find out that's hindering me. So how do I get someone to help me make that strength better? Then how do I find someone to do that for me too as well? So that's a deeper conversation. Here's another note: invest into the trust account. And reputation protection. Protect your reputation.
Yeah.
Because my mentors have told me, said, Greg, your reputation will beat you there.
Yes.
It will get to where you're going before you'll ever get there.
That's exactly right.
So protect your reputation. Those are just some nuggets out of those great leaders. I don't know Mac Brown, but I know he's a great guy. You know why I know he's a great guy, Coach? Because he's from Cookeville, Tennessee.
No question. No question. That's right.
It's where Trent and Taylor they were born. And I lived there for 8 years and worked for Avery Express there. Just an amazing company. Yeah. So what about who is your worst leader and why? No names. Just who's your worst leader and why? So what did you see them do? How'd they make you feel? And what do you know about?
Yeah, I think it's still for me. I mean, so much of my formative life, right, in athletics, right, and so I had a coach who I would say was the opposite of Mac Brown. Okay, so he was never focused on the process, always emotional with the result, and was on the opposite side of positivity, which is just negativity. Right? I mean, nothing was ever good enough, never working hard enough, never giving enough, just whatever it was, like it was just never enough. It was never good. And it was so much negativity. And then there was so much emotion with the result. And man, it created this tension within the team, right? I mean, you can just, looking back, man, you can just see it and you can feel it. And so, that was really interesting because, here Mac Brown was and has had so much success, right? I mean, going from North Carolina to the University of Texas, taking them to a national championship, multiple 10-win seasons in a row there at the University of Texas. And just that process and positivity, right? You can see the results of that, of that positivity. And I will say this, when I went to North Carolina, it was the one thing that people would say about him they would try to make it negative, like he's not hard enough, he's not demanding enough, he's not right, he's not your typical football coach. You kind of go back to the 80s, the 90s, right? Like he's not enough of that. He's like too kind, he's too nice, he's too positive, right? And I think that he proved through his journey at North Carolina of his first time there at North Carolina, never had less wins in 10 straight seasons than he had the year before. When he got there was 0 wins. Every year, more wins than the year before, never less wins. So he just built on that. And then obviously when he went to Texas, it speaks for himself. But that power of positivity, right? Even in a a football locker room, the power of positivity. And then to have another guy who was all of the what you would think of like the traditional football coach, the rah, 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 the, you know, the kicking the chairs and punching the table and all that, right? And not near the success that Mac Brown has had, right? And so, and I think that that just goes to show, man, when you want people to excel, right, they got to be able to trust you. And when you're just emotional off the results, I don't know who I'm getting today. I don't know who's going to show up in the locker room today. How are you going to speak to me today? How are you going to treat me today? How are you going to see me today? Right? I never know because you're emotional with the results. And then the negativity, man, I don't want to go out there and bust my butt for you because it's not going to be good enough. You're not going to clap for me, cheer for me, celebrate me, congratulate me. Like it's just not going to be enough. So I'm not going to want to put everything in there. And so the contrast of those two was really, really good for me to see, man, there's so much power in positivity.
Ooh, boy, boy, that's good. Because the nugget in there that I got out of that was you got to be inconsistency will drive people away from you.
Yeah, well,
So
it breaks trust, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's no doubt.
you know, there's no trust. So when I go into organizations, the first thing I want to understand, tell me about your executive tenure, tell me about your upper level, lower level, middle level managers' tenure, and your people's tenure. That tells me everything.
Yeah.
Because if their tenure is like managers are 1 to 2 years, and I've been into companies where their total management has only been there 1 to 2 years, and they're 30 years in business. There's something going wrong there.
Yeah.
There's something going on. And you said 2 words right there. To me, based on my 36 years of watching this and continue to gather information, is inconsistency and emotional. And you said it, you don't know who's going to show up. And I've been into those toxic environments a couple of times. It gets you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do. So I'm not going to become better every day and trust the process. The process is there is no process. It's his emotions. Well, that you can't inspire people like that. So if somebody out there right now makes people feel that you're not trustworthy, it could be from consistency and you're emotional. Well, that was GT. As my wife would say, she's probably my best leadership coach I've had for the last 36 years. She ain't afraid to give it to you, but she understands too how to talk to me without making me mad. And she's learned that over 36 years, Phillip. They said, you know, can I say something here? This is not helping your sons. This is not helping me. You're pushing us away from you based on your inconsistency and your emotion.
Wow, very good.
You just got to calm down. Because I use the word a thermostat leader.
Yeah.
And I love when my clients call me back and say, Mr. Taylor, I was being a thermostat yesterday. I wanted to yell and scream or do something stupid. I heard you on my shoulder. Hey, be a thermostat, dog. Be a thermostat, man. Don't let them bother you.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to be able to walk in the door and you become untouchable.
Yep. Yeah. So good.
All right, Coach. So what are some key factors that's helped you be a highly successful football player, high school coach, and leading people over the last 45 years? What's some of the key things that you've learned to help you step to where you're stepping right now?
Yeah, I think I think it starts with character, right? Because when we're talking about reputation and we're talking about trust, that's what those things are really built on, right? Who you really are. And so everything for me, it revolves around character. And I, when it comes to character, right, I just define character as how we're living, right? How are you living? That is the essence of character, because it is your words, it is your behaviors, right? It is those habits, it is those things of how you're living. It is that character that is really going to be so so vitally important. Out of character, I would say is your communication, right? And I think sometimes people overlook communication, and they start with communication in terms of the words that you're saying to others. But I think communication starts with what are you saying to yourself, right? No, don't overlook your self-talk, because I will never be able to communicate and lead others and inspire others if I'm not communicating the right things to myself, right? I mean, I say all the time, the most important person you're going to talk to today is yourself, right? Because if you're not talking to yourself and you're not using the right language and you're not creating the right frameworks for yourself, man, it's not going to matter. You're not going to be able to encourage and equip and inspire those people around you. And so communication, which that communication starts, it starts with me. And so out of communication and character, then I would say, okay, what am I doing today? Like with my competency, how am I growing today in all of the different areas, right? Like I don't want to just grow in my work, right? I want to grow in terms of being a better husband, right? I want to be a better father. I want to be a person of faith, right? Whatever, all these different compartments of life, right? I'm not just going to say I want to be better at one area. No, I want holistic health in my life. So it means I've got to take the competency of all of these things, and I want to improve that competency. And then lastly, I would say creativity, right? And creativity for me, it's just how well are we thinking about possibilities? How well are we thinking about the future? How well are we thinking about what can happen in my life and through my life for the good of humanity and the good of the world, right? And so whenever I get those things of, how am I living right with my character? How am I talking to myself and how am I talking to others? I start working on that competency, realize that I'm on a growth journey. I haven't arrived yet, right?
Amen.
I've got to increase my competency in all of these areas all of the time. And then I've got to stay in that creativity. I've got to make sure I'm thinking the right ways. What's my intellectual growth, right? Am I thinking the right things about those things? And so, man, when you take those four components, right, and you bring those into your life, it's a very holistic approach in terms of helping you to really elevate to your highest, to your highest level.
Coach, that's good. I don't know if you got this, but you just wrote the 4 C's of growth.
Come on, there you go. There it is.
Character, competency, creativity, and communication. I don't know how the order goes, but
Yeah.
you just wrote a book, Coach. The 4 C's of growth.
There it
So,
is, man.
so maybe somebody needed to hear that today. So there's a nugget for someone. There could be your domino effect, the 4 C's of growth, which is character, competency, creativity, and communication.
And I think that one of the things that I say a lot is right is like is I want to help people live at their highest level possible so that they can make their biggest impact imaginable, right? And so it's like, so how do I live at the highest level possible? Because my impact is always going to be tied to the level that I'm living. The impact that I make in the world will never be greater than the life that I'm currently living. And so I've got to figure out, how do I raise my character? How do I raise my creativity? How do I raise my communication? How do I get these things to the next level? Wow, not just for me. And that's where people get lost in the whole self-help thing. It's like, well, it's like where it can disconnect for people. It's like, well, I'm not doing this to pat myself on the back, right? And be like, wow, look at me, look how strong my character is, and look how great I talk to myself and I talk to others, and look how great my intellectual thinking is about the future and possibilities. No, 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 no. I do all of those things for one reason, and that is to impact the lives of other people. But if I don't go there, I can't show them, right? If I don't go, I can't show. And so I want to go there in all these areas so that I can show other people how to get there. And so when in all of these areas, I want to live at my highest level possible so that I can make the biggest impact imaginable. And those two things are linked together. So when people get turned off by maybe self-help or personal growth, and they're like, but I'm just about other people, or I'm just about giving back, or I'm not in it for myself, and that's what they hear when they hear those words and they have those thoughts. It's like, no, 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 you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this so that you can help other people. I think the most powerful thing of Roger Bannister, right, of breaking that 4-minute mile back in 1954, right? First person ever to run a mile in 3 minutes and 59 seconds back in 1954. It had never been done before. I think the most amazing thing of the story is, like, in the next 2 years, 18 other people do it. And when I hear the story, it's not like we want to run the 4-minute mile so we can say, wow, look what we did. We're world record holders, pat ourselves on the back, give us a trophy. It's like, no, no, no. I'm doing it so that I can convince other people that it's possible. So if other runners can say, wow, if Roger can do it, then I can do it. He went there so that I can go there too. And I think that that's the power of this whole growth journey of getting to that next level, because I want to take people to their next level, and I can't do it if I don't put in the work to go there myself. But it ultimately is for other people. It's for your definition of leadership, right? It is taking people to a place that they can't get there without you, but you got to be willing to go first. And so I think that that's the beauty of this leadership journey. It starts with you, and then it begins to move to those around you.
You said it. You got to be willing to go first.
Yeah.
And people will know and see that. They know and see your competency.
Yeah.
They know what you know. And so you got to be able to, I've heard this my whole life. I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do.
That's
or
right.
that I've not already done.
Yeah.
Because some people come to me and say, hey, Greg, I want to be a leader. And I'll go, why would you want to do that?
Right.
Why would you want to take your reputation and hand it to someone and say, hey, go take care of my reputation? Why do you want to be the last one to leave, the first one to show up? Why do you want to take all the blame for everything? Because once I talked to them that way, probably half of them came back and said, no, I don't want to do that. Right. Then some came to me and said, I'm all about that. Yeah, I want to help people. My whole life, I want to help people. I haven't gone through this pain. So to get my own gain, I'm going through this pain so I can help other people get their gain.
That's right.
Because that's an inspirational leader mindset right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
you got to be able to do things. It's like Roger Bannister. That barrier, is it a mental barrier or is it a physical barrier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it the chicken or the egg concept? But he said it was a mental barrier.
Yeah.
Because, and I know what you do, you help people through those barriers. Why are you limiting your thinking?
Yeah.
You become what you think about. What are you thinking about? Whatever you are, that's what you thought about who you are.
Yeah.
How do you change your thinking? If you want to change your thinking, you can change your belief. You change your belief, you'll change your behavior.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You can't change your behavior till you change your beliefs. You can't change your beliefs till you change what you're reading, watching, listening to, and putting into your brain.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because, I like to say, basically we have two choices, right? We can create what is possible or conform to what's probable, right? And so we can create what's possible. Possible, the definition of possible is able to happen, right? The definition of probable is likely to happen. And that's the way most people live. Most people just live conforming to what is probable, conforming to what is likely to happen, right? And so that's where they live. That's where you get normal. That's where you get average. That's where you get all of these things. And then you have these other people, to your point, just what you were talking about, this whole, people wanting to be leaders. They're saying, no, I want to create what's actually possible. And that word create is actually multiple definitions, but two of them, one definition is to evolve from one's own mind or imagination. So if you're going to create what is possible, it's got to start in your mind first, right? You got to be able to see it. You got to be able to dream about it, envision it, right? Out of that comes the second definition of create, right? Which is to cause to come into being. And so once it starts in my mind, but now I got to put action to it. And when I do that, when I begin to put it into practice and I cause it to come into being, only then can I begin to get what is possible out of life. And that's where you begin to separate yourself. And when you begin to separate yourself, that's what people will look at and we could say would be an inspirational life, right? You're making different choices, you're going to different places, and people are inspired. What I like to say about inspired people is that inspired people can become interested people, right? So when I'm inspired by the way Greg Taylor shows up into a room, when I'm inspired by what Greg Taylor says is possible, when I'm inspired by his story and how he overcame it, how he triumphed and the change, when I'm inspired, now I am inspired by your story. Now I can become interested to go, wow, what could happen? What could happen for me, right? What is possible, man? If Greg overcame all of that, and if Greg did all these things, now I'm interested to see what would happen to me if I if I committed to a growth process like that, if I committed to being honest with myself the way he was honest with himself, if I committed to reading those books and go, if I, what would happen? I'm interested, and your inspirational story has created an interest in me. And now I have a chance to get on that create possible side of life instead of just conforming to what was probable. But we all have to see and witness an inspirational story so that we can be inspired and then get interested. And, you know, when we go back and talk about my high school coach, my father-in-law, right? That was what it was. Like, I saw the way that he lived, and I was so inspired. I got so interested to think, I wonder if I could live like that. Like, I wonder if I could make a difference like he made a difference. Like, I wonder if that would even, like, I was just interested. And it put me in this journey of now living a life that is an inspirational life to other people, right? But it was because it was modeled for me and I was interested. And then I said, you know what? I want to create what's possible. I don't want to live my life conforming to what is probable.
So I don't know if everybody knows my story or not, but I failed in business in Corbin, Kentucky. Make a long story short, I took a job down in Shreveport, Louisiana, which there's no way in Hades I would ever said I want to move 12 hours away from my family. There's just no way I would have ever done that. I didn't even know where Shreveport was. And my mom told me I'm going down there for spiritual training. Well, and that's when I met your father-in-law.
Yeah.
So he taught me about spiritual training. He didn't have classes. He walked it out.
Yes.
Him, his family, his 6 kids, you walked out your beliefs. You walked out your faith. Because if I can't see it, I don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
My mom said, if you believe nothing here and about half of what you see. But people keep showing up. This could be the title of this. You just kept showing up. The Duran family and the Deas family, y'all just keep showing up day in and day out. As Pastor Denny said, I think he got beat in a football game of a rival school. He said, we taught them how to win. Let's go show them how we lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
that's
just
right.
being positive. Positive doesn't mean it's all colors and rainbows all the time.
No.
It's just saying, okay, I got beat. So what now? What? I can learn from that. And I'm going to take that pain. I'm going to turn it into a gain. So I call that 50-20 vision, which is off Genesis 50-20.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Right. It's a story about, help me out, Coach.
Joseph.
Right.
Yep.
So when we first moved to Shreveport, your father-in-law's teaching about Joseph.
Yep.
And I just crawled out from under a desk where I cried for 30 minutes once I accepted my defeat. It took me 8 months to do that. Instead of blame people, it took me 8 months to accept that. Now someone's teaching me it's possible. Joseph did it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah. Yeah. But that's an inspiring story, right? When I hear your story, now I'm interested to see, man, I mean, if that happened for Greg, like, it can happen for me too, because all of us know what it is to lose, to be defeated, to make mistakes, to have crucial things happen, right? It's like, but man, if you bounce back and you are where you are now, what is possible for me? And that's what I love about you. And when you share that story, is because it really is an inspirational story that will interest me to think, man, if he did it, then so can I.
That's good. That's good. All right, Coach, we're going to tell a story here on you.
All right, do it, man. Do
it. So you coached my sons in high school football. So my oldest son was a senior, and the starting quarterback got hurt. So Trey started playing quarterback. So so I was watching how you were interacting with him, because he played quarterback in the 5th grade and 8th grade a little bit, but he never played at that high level at Evangel Christian Academy, playing Thomas More down in South Louisiana. And so after the game, you came up to me and you apologized to me. I said, you came to me with just a very oh, shucks, and not like, and I was like, what are you doing, Coach? He said, I got to apologize to you, Mr. Taylor. I said, Lord have mercy. What did you do? He said, well, I yelled at your son. I said, I'm okay, because I trust you.
Yeah.
Because I trust you. You can yell at my sons all you want, because I know your heart. You're trying to get them to see what's possible. Even though they can't see it, you see it for them.
Yeah.
And because at halftime, you pulled back on him because you kept telling him to throw the ball, and he kept telling you, I can't see.
Yeah.
Coach, I can't
To which
see
I
him.
told him, you don't have to see him. You know where he is.
He said, but I can't see him. Then you finally said, well, he hasn't done this a lot. I did it for like 10 years. Just throw the ball. He's there. And what you did there, and you made a great adjustment as a coach and a leader. You took your talent. Everybody listen to this. You take your talent. You don't make them what you want them to be.
Yeah.
You see what's possible inside of them.
Yeah.
Then you as a leader, you got to help develop what is possible for them, not for Tom Brady, not for Patrick Mahomes, but what's possible for this person.
That's right.
And what you got to find, and what you did to my son, you found what he's good at.
Yeah.
And you used him, and he threw for a bunch of yards.
Yeah.
Because you just told him
That's
where
right.
to throw it.
That's right.
He just needed to know, where do you want me to throw this ball? I can throw it.
That's right.
But man, you're
That's
asking
right.
me to do what?
That's right.
Because you found
Yeah.
what's possible to that person. And that's what an inspirational leader does. What's unique about that person and what's possible for that person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's something else in there too, man, that I have learned just in terms of and now I kind of put in a little formula. You just call it the change formula, but it's admit, apologize, analyze, and adjust. And so
Whoa,
I
whoa, whoa,
think
coach. I like acronyms. Whoa, coach. Say it again.
that admit, apologize, analyze, and adjust. So what I want to do, right, if I want to change anything, right, first I just have to admit, right, I have to admit that this isn't working. I have to admit that this isn't going the way I want it to, right. I have to have that moment of honesty where I admit that, I let myself down. I didn't do what I promised, whatever it is. I have to admit, and then I have to apologize. Sometimes there are people that we need to apologize, and this just kind of came out of the story that you were telling, because I didn't just apologize to you. I apologized to Trey, right. I mean, I had to tell Trey, hey, bro, I'm sorry, man. That's not who I want to be. Like, I mean, there are things that I will yell at you about. I'm a coach, man. I'm going to get on you, but like, that's not what I want to be mad at. Like, you can't see, like, that's my fault. Right. So I apologize for that. But here's the powerful thing, is that sometimes there's not a person that you need to apologize. It's that you need to apologize to yourself, because you've broken your own promises, right? And you have to admit that you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And you have to apologize to yourself and say, you know what, Phillip, I'm sorry. I am sorry that we keep screwing this up. I am sorry that we keep missing the mark on this thing. And you got to apologize, so that then you can move on and move forward. And that's when you move into the analyze. And that's what you're talking about. I analyze Trey, like, okay, well, all right, this is where we are. This was his problem. What are we going to do about that, right? How am I going to get him out of the pocket on the right? How am I going to do these things where he can have clear throws? How am I going to make things more decisive for him? How am I going to do that? I've got to analyze what I was doing wrong, and then what we can change. And then the final thing is then make the adjustment, right? Then you do it, right? And you make the necessary adjustment to, whether you're talking about football, life, whatever it is. And when you just keep that formula and you live within that formula, because it never stops, you're always admitting, you're always apologizing, you're always analyzing, and you're always adjusting. And when you stay in that formula, that's when you're going to get the best football team, the best family. I tell this story a lot, but man, I remember it like it was yesterday. My oldest daughter, who's 12 now,
Tell them
when
how many
she
kids you
was,
got, coach. How many kids
so
you got?
I got 5 kids. I
One
have
more to go.
three girls. No, man. 3 girls, 2 boys,
You
12 all
got
the
one
way to
more,
2.
coach.
No, man. No, sorry, please don't say that. But we are. So I remember, man, she was probably 5 years old, and man, I was just trying to get her like out of the house, and like, man, she's just taking so long. Like, come on, let's go. We gotta go. And I just said this. I said, hey, hurry up, knucklehead. And man, I never will forget. Like, she stopped and she looked at me, and she said, I am not a knucklehead, and don't you ever call me that again. She's like 5 years old, and like,
That's
it was like,
Destiny's Child.
bro, it was a moment where I was like, oh wow, wait a minute. Like, it was like a God moment for me,
That's right.
honestly. Like, I was like, okay, this is not my 5-year-old talking to me right now. this is something else, because this is, and in that moment, you want to respond and be like, I'll call you whatever I want to call you. Get your butt in the car, right?
Well, that's right. Well, that's your ego taking over.
But here was the thing: is like in that moment, what I did was I stopped and I admitted, it's not who I want to be. I don't want to be a dad who creates negative names for my kids, right? That's not who I want to be. And so I remember it's right where I was in the living room when I got down on my knee where I could be eye to eye with her and just said, hey, you are right. You are a knucklehead. I apologize. And I said, I will never call you that again. I mean, that was 7 years ago, and I've never used those words ever again with any of my children, because it was a moment where then I analyzed why did I do this? Well, I would do this because that's what people had called me, right? Whether parents, coaches, right? You teachers, whatever, right? You just hear this phrase and it's like it just comes out. So I analyze it, like it just comes from life, and it's like, but that's not who I want to be. So what do? I make an adjustment, and I made an adjustment. And that's the power of having that moment to admit and apologize. And sometimes there's people that you need to apologize to. Sometimes it's yourself. But no matter what, you got to apologize and analyze so that you can make the necessary adjustments to become who you really want to be.
That's so good. I'm just the 4 A's. What would you call that? The 4 A's of coaching.
Yeah, I just call it
cleaning the toilet.
A change formula, man. It's just the way to change. If you don't admit, you don't have a shot, right? And so it's where it starts.
So I've been on a 22-year cleanup of admitting, apologize, analyze, and adjust. Because I've drove 5 hours one way just to tell someone to forgive me on something I did 30 years to them.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what I did, but because he just stayed in my head. This is something that happened in high school. Yeah. And I want this person out of my head. And I did it wrong. He could have forgiven me. I don't know that, but it's in my head. I haven't forgiven myself. So for me to forgive myself, I felt like I had to go apologize. So I drove 5 hours there and 5 hours back in a day. Yeah. Just to say, I'm sorry, forgive me for what I did. It was during a football game. He was the opponent. Yeah. And he after that, Pastor, he went, Greg, you'll never know what you've done for me today. Wow. Said, you've released something in me. Wow. I mean, we just both started crying and hugging each other. This happened 30 years ago. Wow. No, it's powerful. An apology, as my wife would say, doing it right. Yeah. Because my wife taught me about apology. You got to say what you did wrong. Yeah. Because I would just say, I'm sorry. She'd go, nope, not wrong way to do it. Oh, Coach Mickey, Coach me up, said, no, you need to tell me what you did wrong, why it's wrong, and why you're not going to do that again. Then most of the time I just walk off and go, I can't deal with it. Yep. But she's trying to help me become a better person. Yeah. And it's just like an inspirational leader is, you can lead people to the water, but all of them are not going to drink. Yeah. And it's okay. Yeah. But did you do the best you could for that person to get them to think about the possibilities of what they can't imagine? Because they may be under some pressure that you may never know. But our job as an inspirational leader is get them to the water. Now, if they drink it, that's up to them. Yep. As one of my mentors told me, he said, I love how you help people, Greg, but you got to know when someone's tearing another person down, or the team, the process, or the system down, you got to cut them. You have to understand that. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I would say is that, I think for people listening right now, right, you can feel like, man, I've made so many mistakes. I'm so old. I'm really past the point of change. Man, here's what I would say. My father showed me it doesn't matter how old you are, you can change and become the best version of yourself. My dad gave me so much hope for my own personal future because he has changed so much post 55. I mean, you think by then, like, dude, you got patterns, you got habits, right. I mean, it is deeply ingrained. And you know what my dad did? My dad started reading different books. My dad started listening to different podcasts. My dad started understanding his personality, taking personality tests, going on personal growth journey.
post 55. My dad today is 72 years old and has, in the last, whatever that would be, 15, 17 years, has completely transformed as a human being. It's never too late to go on this growth journey. It's never too late to change. And his change has so inspired me. It has so challenged me that I'm like, wow, man, and given me so much hope, because it's like, it doesn't matter how long you've been a certain way. It's like change is always possible. And so just for anybody,
Always possible,
struggling
coach.
with, man, it's, I've been
Always
this way
possible.
for so long. This has always been right. Man, it can change no matter how old you are.
Because one time my dad passed away 5 years ago, and I was visiting one day, and we got into a little bit of an argument in a debate, and so I left. It was all good. So probably an hour down the road, he calls me. Man, this guy's 81 years old at this point. I'm probably in the wrong, but we had a little debated issue, not nobody yelling or screaming at anybody. But he calls me and he said, Greg, I want to apologize to you. I was very closed-minded to what you had to say. When you said it, I said, I'm not listening to it. And he said, and I apologize to you because I should listen, because I can always learn something new. And I just started bawling like a baby. I'm probably 48, 49 years old, because how did he do that? I mean, why would he do that? He didn't have to do that, but I know why he did. He just wants peace. Yeah, because peace is not the absence of conflict in our society. It's the absence of conflict in our heart and our mind.
That's right.
Because once you get the conflict out of my mind and my heart, the impossible is possible, Coach.
That's right.
Because I know who inspired your dad. You did. Because he saw the impact that you're making on the world. He's saying, that's my boy. I can do that.
Yeah.
Because you made it possible for him because of what you did. Not what you said, but how you showed up every day. That's the name of this podcast, Coach. You got to show up.
Come on. You got to show up, man.
I don't know, but I like that. That's a nugget for someone.
Come on. That's right. That's
Maybe
right.
is 99% of just showing up and being there. I mean, that's one of the things my dad taught me as a father. You just got to show up. His father was an alcoholic and abused his mother. He didn't know what a dad was, but he showed up.
That's right.
He didn't know what to say, but he showed up.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yep. That's good. Very good,
Coach. That's good. All right, Coach, we're going to advance forward here. We're about 3 or 4 more minutes here. What would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Oh man, I would tell my 21-year-old self to think bigger. I think the world is so big, the possibilities are so endless, and that was the challenge for me, is that, man, my world was just small. My possibilities were, I mean, I worked hard, had a great work ethic. I believed the best about scenarios and situations. I was, creating a positive outlook, all of those things. But just I didn't let the world be as big as it really could have been. And that really for me would be the thing that I would say is like, man, you got to dream bigger and think bigger. And now having lived a lot since 21, right? I've been in 30 something, different countries of the world. I've been, I've just had so many, it's like, man, and it's still bigger than I've experienced. Right. But back then I was like, I mean, I'll probably never leave Louisiana. Right. I mean, I'll probably, I mean, but yeah, I just think that is, man, there's not, to break free from those limitations, and whether they are, those limiting beliefs, those limiting mindsets, those limiting things of like, what could I do? Who would really want me on their team? Like, man, the world is just so big and the opportunities are really endless, and to really dream about it and to think about it and then to really go for it. And that's really what I would say.
So we're going to let you close this podcast, Coach. So everybody out there that's listening is an inspirational leader, becoming an inspirational leader. They desire to be an inspirational leader. because I'm going to say this to everybody that's listening. You don't need a title to be a leader.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to have the ability to influence people.
Yeah.
So you don't need a title. So you can go be a leader when you're not a leader. Because we're watching someone. Everybody's watching you. So what are you teaching them? Because people do what they see, not what they're told to do.
Yeah.
So wrap this up for us, this episode, Mr. Phillip. What would be your advice to someone who is an inspirational leader, who's trying to be, who's overcoming, who's struggling, or what is your gift today for everybody about how to be an inspirational leader?
Man, I think you said it a moment ago, right? You gotta show up. You gotta show up to grow up, right? You gotta grow up to go up. I mean, that's basically sums it all up. You have to show up for people, right? You have to show up. You've got to be around, and then you've got to be growing, right? You have to be a person who is evolving, a person who is in pursuit of excellence, right? You have to be a person that is resilient in these things. Like, people are looking for that type of growth in your life. Why? Because they need you to go to the next level so that there is hope for them that they can go to the next level, right? And at the end of the day, if we don't have hope for a better future for ourselves, if we don't have hope that my tomorrow can be better than my today, if I don't have hope that I can be somebody different in my future than I've been in my past, if I don't have that hope, then there is no chance I'm going to do what I need to do today to get there, because I don't think it's possible. So why am I going to make the sacrifices I need to make today, to do the hard work I need to make, that I've got to do today in order to get there? I'm not going to do it if I don't have hope that I'm really going to make it there. So I've got to be able to see somebody, right, that's actually doing it. And the only way I can do it is to show up, be committed to grow up, and then go up so that other people can see they can do it too. And so I think that's the journey, man, of leaders, and that's what we want to do. We want to live in a way that inspires other people to go on that journey.
That's good. Coach, I got my 5 things. Show up to go up, show up to grow up, pursuit of excellence, resiliency, and hope. That's what you told me. Coach, you've been an inspiration. I didn't tell the story about where I really trusted you one time to help me get through an issue in my life. And I'd just known you for like a year or two, but I trusted you because I knew I had to surrender to an issue. And I chose you, and I have no idea why I chose you. So preparing for this podcast, I've been thinking about, why did I choose you when I would have never chose other people? Not that they've done anything wrong. There's just something about you connected with my spirit of fear, because I had a fear of rejection on my life, and I chose you to help me through that. Now, the question is, I got to tell everybody, why did I choose you, Coach? Because you know what? You get people to trust you because of who you are, because of you're just genuine. You're Phillip. You show up and you're very consistent. You're consistent when you do something wrong. You're consistent when you do something good. You're the same person. Because I've heard some stories about Trey and Trent telling me stories about you getting on their butt, but 2 minutes later you're the friend again. Because it's all about relationship building. And I was really sent to Shreveport, Louisiana to learn 2 things: how to build relationships and honor people. And that's probably, I got a lot out of Shreveport, Louisiana and the Duron Families organizations. And those are probably the 2 biggest things.
Wow.
So I thank you for that. And I thank you for being on the podcast today. So let's show up to go up and show up to grow up, and let's grow. So Thank everybody for listening. I hope you got your 3 things down. Write that. What's that one domino? You need one domino that'll knock all the other dominoes down for you in your personal and your professional life. And go be the best version of yourself, and tune in next time to the Leadership Factory podcast. Thank you, Mr. Phillip.
Thank you.